And welcome back to part two, right, of exploiting web applications and how the bad guys are making that paper. Okay, I'm Zach Roof from securingthestack.com. Welcome back, and this is pretty much the slide that we were at last week. Okay, and we're basically at where's the fruit, man? Okay, we're just talking about where's the lowest hanging fruit now in web apps, right? And essentially, we were looking at application business logic. Okay. And who was that produced by? Wonder who that could be. All right. Wait for it. Oh my God. This guy right here always cracks me up, right? The life of a programmer. Yes, the code is working, and I've got no clue why, right? I had to bust out my Photoshop skills here. Listen, we have younger coders out there, and I want to make this as PG-13 as I can. Okay, so anyhow, listen, trust me, we've all been here, right? I'm a dev, but at the same time, hopefully you've been there a little bit more in the beginning of your career than kind of later on. But essentially, it's not about judging us. It's just, hey, we have weaknesses and things we need to work on, just like anybody else, right? And here's okay, this is my ego meltdown slide, right? This is for all you old school SNL people. I think this Mr. Bill, right, is this little clay figurine, right? And essentially, I think this is from SNL, like mid 70s or something. My old man could tell you he was all about that. I've just seen some archival footage of it. But anyhow, this is Mr. Bill, right? And he had this nemesis, Mr. Hands. And since Mr. Bill is a clay figurine, right? Mr. Hands would always try to come and smash him with all of his, anger. Okay. But anyhow, the funny thing was is whenever this was about to happen, Mr. Bill would always go, "Oh no!" So, is our business logic that bad? Right? Thanks, Mr. Bill. Appreciate it. Now, it's not. It's not bad, right? We just need awareness. That's the big part. And that's why I created securingthestack.com to be of service to the community, to help foster this awareness. And these types of business logic exploits, they hit a sweet spot, right, for profit and variation. Now, what do I mean by profit? Okay, well, profit, all right, not truly randomizing your coupon codes, right? Say you're a merchandiser, and this has happened, and people have gotten hit for a lot of money, and so that's a potential exploit, right, for your business logic. Okay, now how can we catch these types of exploits? Okay, well, traditional IDS systems, or through the eyes of traditional IDS systems, okay, hey, traffic looks legitimate, uses the same amount of bandwidth, same ports, etc. Right? There's high variation. Remember the IDS, right? So we're basically a lot of that traffic is vetted against a database, okay, of common exploits or just code signatures or code snippets, okay, of these common exploits. And since, hey, business logic from application to application, relatively speaking, has a kind of high degree of variation, right? Yeah, there's certain patterns you could potentially extract, but it's easier to kind of produce a higher variation in these types of exploits, so it's difficult for traditional IDS systems to catch. So, okay, the QA, right? What does the QA ask, right? Does this software work as designed? Okay? And I mean, well, just going back to the QA point, I mean, there's nothing wrong with QAs. I love QAs, but this is just kind of, you know, the what QAs have been taught. It's not really, hey, how can we exploit this? It's really, hey, how can we potentially cause a bug? In kind of the feature. So there's a difference between bug and exploit, obviously. So in many cases, now this is where it really gets interesting, right? In many cases, it can be argued that these types of exploits are legal. All right. And that's what really we're going to be starting to go into on the next slide. And that's why these scammers love this stuff, right? It's a big gray area. So through the next, I believe I have 3 thought exercises kind of coming up, and that's kind of going to be the structure for, kind of the rest of the lecture. And yeah, let's start with the first, right? But I'm a really firm, I have a firm belief that you just need to question yourself and just be a questioner in general. So I'm going to pose some questions to you. So you're a dev at a financial institution and you need to verify the authenticity of a user's linked account. All right. So your code deposits small amounts of money, say a cent to $2, into the unverified accounts and prompts the user to verify. Now, I think a lot of us have probably done this type of, kind of workflow, so to speak. For me, I opened up a PayPal account, I linked it to my Wells Fargo account, and once I did that, when I instantiated the linking process, basically PayPal put in a couple of cents into my Wells Fargo account. Then on the PayPal side in the UI, it said, hey, how much should we put in, right? That's how it vets me. Now think about it. How could your logic be exploited? Okay. Now think. All right. Might just be about getting that paper, right? That's what it's about, right? So it's that's what these bad guys obviously want. Now let's go from it. Let's check this out from the attack perspective, okay? So potentially a script can be created that automates the sign-up process of brokerage accounts, right? So E-Trade, etc. Okay, this script, right? It is instantiated with multiple identities, right? You obviously couldn't, create 50,000 accounts, okay, with the same identity, right? And well, what about CAPTCHAs, right? Okay, well, those can be broken through OCR sometimes, right? Optical character recognition, all right? Or you could potentially explore the CAPTCHA black market in India, Vietnam, etc. Incredibly cheap. When I looked at some of the rates on this, oh my goodness, it was like $2 for every 1,000 CAPTCHAs solved or something like that. It's just, well, that was not something like that. That was actually one of the rates. So it's incredibly cheap. And they actually call that the mechanical Turk model. So you can kind of look at that through Google and check that out if you'd like. So we can go ahead and spawn 50,000 brokerage accounts, right? Using different IPs, right? You have a virtualized environment, say AWS, you just spin up a new EC2 instance and gets assigned a new IP. The other little small thing I will say is some of you might be saying, okay, cool, well, now by doing that, they won't blacklist, our IP, right? Or it will be very difficult. What are you going to do? Blacklist Amazon? But, okay, well, there's probably some other ways that they could figure out who we are. And, you're right. Okay, and one of those, when I first started learning about tracking online, okay, one of the things, that I learned is, hey, if you turn off your cookies and make your IP, you keep dynamically getting IPs over and over again, like even though you're doing all that stuff, it doesn't really, you still can be tracked very easily by advertisers and other kind of individuals, right? Because your browser, as you know, usually, or it does, emit a user agent string, right? And your screen resolution, all this stuff. So this metadata as a whole is a fairly intricate fingerprint of you on the web, and I think it was something like it's like a 95% confidence interval or something to that effect. It's pretty striking. So if the individual was more creative, they could go ahead and start randomizing that as well, right? To make it even more difficult. You go ahead after you spawn those 50,000 brokerage accounts, you verify that to your roughly 10 bank accounts, right? And those are the ones that are kind of the collectors, so to speak, or the piggy bank. That's really the best analogy, right? You keep putting all these little cents in it, and hey, that piggy bank over time, obviously, Well, guess you smash it and get the stuff out. And when you smash it, you cash out, right, by utilizing prepaid debit cards. All right. Now, I do want to say something. When I say we will do this or etc., I'm not condoning doing this. This is obviously horrible, and this is why I've created this site, right? Securing the Stack. But the idea is, let me just say it this way. Like, there is such a cool movement that it's just hack yourself first, right? And that's just really about thinking like the bad guy so you can protect yourself. So you gotta role play, right? Make yourself, do a little acting session here, right? So when I'm saying, using certain, kind of verbiage or different words, nouns, whatever, you get my point. But essentially, I'm not condoning. I'm just saying, hey, let's put ourselves in that role. So, given all this information, right? Wait, could this type of attack actually happen? I mean, 50,000 brokerage accounts. Like, give me a break. There's got to be some kind of mitigating factor that just stops all this, right? Well, no. And look at this guy. Who is it? Hank Hill, right? And is Hank Hill behind this scam? Well, actually, in a way, he is. Let's check that out. Poor Hank. He looks so scared right now, like he's just been caught. Enter the Hank Hill scam. All right. I termed it this. It's not officially called this. This did happen, but anyhow, you'll see why real soon. Why I called it this. But anyways, it's courtesy of a gentleman named Michael Largent. And Michael, man, if you're listening to me, man, this is no offense to you, man, but when I heard your name, I was like, this is just a dude that is on the 10 o'clock news. Like, you just hear that name, man. Sorry, no offense or anything. But anyways. And Michael Largent had a penchant for making his fake identities names Hank Hill when he was spawning that script, and that actually that script instantiated I think it was like 58,000 E-Trade or different brokerage accounts. I believe it was all centered in E-Trade. Pretty crazy. Profit, all the things that he did on that, about 50 grand. All right. Now here's the thing. Is this legal, right? And that's where these guys love this stuff, right? Because what did Mr. Largent say? Wasn't in the terms of service, bro. I'm good, right? Well, the Secret Service had a little something else to say, right? Because he got busted. Actually, the only reason why he got busted was because of the fake IDs. And on the previous slide, I brought up the idea of that somebody could potentially, use AWS or something to create, IPs over and over again on the fly or something like that. I mean, yeah, that can all be linked, but anyhow, he wasn't using Tor or any other type of, kind of hiding thing for his IP. And essentially, the Patriot Act stipulates that when somebody signs up at a bank account, or some kind of financial institution, they have to go back and verify, make sure that that person is legit. And they went back and saw a bunch of Hank Hills have been created, okay? And they all came from a certain IP address, and, the rest is history. So Mr. Largent also did a similar scam, right, with Google Checkout, right? Wasn't charged. Made about 8 grand, okay? Now, that's pretty much it for this week. Now, kind of next week, we're going to kind of go into the online voting and some other kind of exercises for business logic exploits. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you next week. Thanks.